Everybody's looking for the next big thing in the restaurant industry, and today's show, I think, is going to reveal the master plan. My name is Paul Barron, and this is the Barron Report. The industry is kind of faced with a very unique position. We've got growth in potential frequency in terms of dining out. We've got growth in terms of total revenues in certain brands. There is a massive move to delivery and takeout that has occurred. All of this is surrounding technology, and today I'm taking a little different spin on something that I have in terms of a theory. And it's looking at this now from a financial perspective of how Tesla could become the next UberEats. And I'll talk to you about why. Before we get started, I want to make sure you guys know about a big event we are holding here on the network. It is called Fast Casual Global. It's going to bring together the biggest minds in the fast casual industry. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to go to fastcasualglobal.com to register for free for that great event. All right, so let's talk a little bit about kind of where these market mover sessions are going. And I'm trying to pull more of these together for you guys. But basically, I want you to take a look here at a quick kind of analysis that Inside EVs did on where Tesla could be in the future in terms of car manufacturing. And the reason I say this is because the Robo-Taxi service that Elon Musk keeps touting, which takes these cars to full self-driving and a full autonomy, is a very key factor, I think, in terms of how the industry is going to move forward. And you have to think about where the industry is right now, because there's very little, if any, autonomy in terms of food delivery. And what Jeff Shelley said here was, in a recent YouTube episode, he embedded at the bottom of the page, the know-it-all of know-it-all, talked about the idea of robo-taxi services taking over the bulk of driving. And the thought is that robo-taxis were very low cost per mile, all that kind of stuff, and it's subject to be thinking for a while, but he took the opportunity in his review to look at the cost of owning a vehicle and the cost of using a third party like a Tesla, robo-taxi, hence right now, a la 2021, it's known as Uber. So if you look at their comparison that they did, which was his comparison of a purchase price versus if he were to go with an EV, a robo-taxi, to kind of serve his need for being able to get around, all right? So this is an argument that people are talking about. Is Tesla in a position where they are building cars to replace ICE or internal combustion engine cars for the future, or are they building potentially a fleet to take over transportation? And this is an argument. It's back and forth. There's a lot going in that direction. And here's what I would say to Elon, and that is, there's been a company out there that's been doing this for quite some time, and they've been willing to lose a lot of money in doing it. And if you look at where the market drivers are going on this this next point right here, is Uber has, if you look at where they've kind of come from, ride-sharing occasions 1.7 weekly versus, say, an Uber Eat occasion at 3.8 times weekly and growing. But also the interesting thing here was Uber's, if you see this ZDNet article, Uber's future may be more about Uber Eats and Uber Freight than ride sharing. And this is essentially what is happening. Uber Technologies lost $3 billion in its first quarter due to COVID, shutting down the ride sharing business. But Uber Eats and Uber Freight may have showed the way forward. And make no mistake, there is a very big move, I believe, in Uber's plan, especially with their recent acquisition of Drizzly and kind of how they're implementing more and more into food. This is the path forward for Uber. And it's a common sense scenario of transactions. It's like what we deal with in the food industry. Transactions trump everything. And it's the same, I think, in one of these kind of scenarios. If you're only dealing 1.7 rides per week, but you're getting right now 3.8 food deliveries per week and growing, then that kind of shows you where the market is moving. And if we continue to see work from home, all these influence factors that are really kind of changing the dynamic of how transportation is being done, this is a big thing. So my theory here is that I don't know if Tesla is really putting forth the effort to maybe get into kind of the Uber replacement. But here's a strategy that could take Tesla into food delivery. And if you look at the numbers, it gets pretty striking here. So future of Tesla is a combo of robo-taxi and robo-delivery. If you look at the number of restaurants here, starting in 2022, this is restaurants that could potentially be enrolled in a program in which they use a robo-delivery fleet, maybe from Tesla, if Tesla can actually deploy full self-driving and autonomy. They could have, by 2022, around 360,000 restaurants that could be out there doing this. And if you look at their total occasions per day, this is the number of transactions, and then the percentage of delivery, you're looking at almost 7.5 billion orders of delivery on an annual basis. Now, this is striking numbers. If you look at 2023, 510,000, this is growing your restaurant connectivity business. Go to 510,000, still growing occasions per day, up a little bit. Now we're looking at 48% of that being delivery. And this, I think, is still conservative for the industry of where delivery is going. Now we're going into 12 billion occasions on an annual basis, going to 625,000. And you can kind of see the math here. All the way up to 2026 at 820,000 restaurants, what I think will be about 80% of the industry by 2026, because we will be well over 1 million restaurants again by 2026. And this moves it into total occasions annually at 47 billion and cutting in at about 53% of that being takeout and delivery, which puts the number at 25 billion transactions per year. Now, you take a look at 25 billion transactions, and that's based on the number of transactions that are occurring in restaurants on average on a daily basis, and then a percentage of those transactions that are going for delivery or takeout. So if you have a solution in place from a company like Tesla that could come in and say, we have a new robo-delivery fleet, we have a new robo-delivery app integration, and it's gonna plug right into your e-commerce system, it's gonna plug right into your POS. Tesla has the technology to make this happen. And best of all, they are leaps and bounds ahead in terms of full self-driving and autonomy. This next comparison is where Tesla's numbers could fall. And this is where it gets interesting because profit is the mother of invention, and I think this is where Tesla may have an opportunity at a market that they have not even mentioned yet. And I believe that there is an opportunity here for Tesla. So again, still staying on the 22 through 26 ramp up of restaurants that could participate in a delivery program that potentially could be delivered through a robo-taxi or a robo-delivery fleet. And if you look at your average delivery order, which we think is going to continue to grow at around $26.80, we're around $23 to $24 right now on average delivery order. And if that continues at this pace, you're going to see some fairly large delivery revenues. These are billions that we're talking about. If we just look at, let's kind of pick the year 2023. And with 2023, if we can have 500,000, which is going to be less than half of the restaurants that are enrolled in this kind of delivery program, at an average of delivery per delivery in 2023, around $27 an order. When you get into that kind of number, you're talking about a total delivery revenue of $330 billion. Now remember, the restaurant industry is set to grow to 1.3 trillion, we think, by 2023. So this is still a small fragment of the industry. And just like UberEats, and all of the delivery companies have gone from single digit 2 years ago to now high double digit in terms of penetration. And again, they're dealing with pushback and problems because of the fees that they charge. So back to the total industry estimate. This now hits the industry estimate about, and we'll go back to the 2023, that's the 1.3 billion or trillion number. If Tesla were to go in with a robo-delivery program at 10%, which would decimate Uber's platform for Uber Eats and most of the others, that are charging much more than that. Their fees that they would collect from 500,000 restaurants would be around $33 billion. And that's in 2023. So you can kind of see the growth here all the way up to 2026, where Tesla could play into this market space at around $76 billion a year in terms of revenue for Tesla. And that's on the short side. That's on the 10% number. If Tesla figures out that they can do this in other markets or other verticals, the 12% number could get more attractive. And also the fact that I think their logistics, the autonomy, the safety records, all the things that they have potentially going for them to be able to take over delivery in the industry could be a reality, and all the way up to where they're encroaching on $100 billion a year in terms of revenue for Tesla. That's a huge P&L line for Tesla, especially if they can continue to drive down the cost of EVs. If you look at the fleet that's needed here to make this happen, in 2023, Tesla's going to need 1 million cars to make this portion of the model work. And if you look all the way into 2026, Tesla's going to need 2.1 million, almost 2.2 million cars to make this happen. Now, there are estimates out there from Piper Sandler and some of the other analysts that are estimating around 4.8 million cars in production by 2025 for Tesla. And if you look at the numbers that they have on the road today, edging up on 1 million cars, they've got the ability to potentially do this, especially if they open up robo-delivery to the current Tesla owners where this could be done. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this comes together. To support this, I want to go into some forward indicators here and why this industry is perfect for what Tesla is in the midst of doing. Total restaurants, U.S. population, 221 million. These are people that are active in the restaurant space, ordering, going out to eat, etc. Total food occasions per year, 241 billion. That's the number of transactions that are estimated on an annual period by that group of consumers just in the U.S. alone. We're just talking U.S. This is not a global potential product. This is a product that could go global, but we're just analyzing the U.S. By 2023, our estimates is around 58% on food away from restaurant. And of course, that still supports our industry capacity at around 1.3 trillion. Now, we do believe that number is very conservative because the average check, we believe because of the shift to delivery and takeout, that average check is going to start rising very quickly. Additionally, if you look at forward indicators here in terms of growth of the industry, increased frequency for takeout delivery from 4.1 times per month to 7.8 times per month. We've retrained the consumer. This is not something that's going away. In fact, I think it's only going to accelerate. And you can kind of see my numbers here on the total number of restaurants that will be growing to catch up and eventually emerging on the other side that we could be seeing up to 68 to 73%, up from 51% on food away from restaurants, what used to be called food away from home. This is a massive, massive scenario. And it is one that Uber, that's why you see so many moves happening in third-party delivery right now. Because if somebody can crack the code on how this can be done, because the restaurant industry, though it is massive, it is too distributed. There's not enough concentration of effort. There's thousands of brands that all have an agenda. They all have needs and desires and want to go this way and want to go that way. There's nothing that is solidifying that together. And if you look at the pushback of the restaurant industry to third-party delivery, we haven't seen unification. And even recently, where the national restaurant industry tried to kind of set the ground rules with Uber and Postmates and all the different third-party companies. And even in that, the program that they put together that were kind of the guiding principles, it still wasn't necessarily addressing the biggest, elephant in the room, and that is sharing the data and also getting the costs down and letting the restaurant own the consumer and own that guest experience. It's your food that you're selling, and it should be your customer as opposed to the third-party customer. So there's a lot of argument around that in the industry, and it's very divisive in terms of who's on what side. Most everyone that is succeeding in ghost restaurants, they are on the third party, because if the third party wasn't there, they wouldn't be alive. Totally understandable, Totally get it. But for restaurants that are out there that maybe are getting hit with the 25% number, they all realize this isn't sustainable. But at the same time, third-party delivery, the cost to be able to do this is not sustainable either at the current setup of how Uber is doing this. So when you look at that, now let's go back over here to a forward indicator that I looked at, which was by 2024. We're going to about 43.3 billion to 53.4 billion potentially in added revenue to Tesla's bottom line. 2026, we'd go from about 76 to 91.4 billion in added revenue, depending on what percentage, and I'm talking a percentage of either 10% or 12%, which is kind of the happy number that I think all restaurant operators look at the value of delivery and the costs that they would have to do themselves if they had to create their own logistics last mile delivery system. 10%, 12%, that's a doable deal. And even at those numbers, 76 to 91 billion a year just for US services. The key there is that 2.1 million in autonomous fleet. Now, by 2026, can we be and see this kind of full autonomy of 2 million cars on the streets of the United States that are completely driverless, doing these kinds of functions? I know that that is a reach for most of you to think about that right now, but I want you to realize how fast technology has moved just in the last year. And what we're going to see in technology advancements from companies like Tesla and others that are moving down this track. GM is already on a very fast pace for this. GM could come in and play in this game just as easily. The difference there is the Tesla network and the existing number of cars that gets them jump-started into robo-delivery or robo-taxi very quickly, because, you know, with Elon, he's using the current Tesla buyers. And even if you only had 10% of the Tesla buyers today, you could put 100 to 150,000 cars on the street today as robo-taxis or robo-delivery. So you could have an immediate impact, much less what you're trying to build as a company and staying up still as a car company, but maybe as more of a full services company when it comes to what we'll see in terms of autonomous delivery, autonomous pickup and delivery, such as like an Uber-style service, robo-taxi. All these kinds of factors really play into, and the food service industry is right in the middle of the bullseye, because this is how society moves, and so many related companies, related industries, and related technologies move into this space. That's why you saw Uber moving so quickly to put in a very effective UberEats, and then acquisitions are coming like crazy for Uber, and I think it's not going to stop. Uber is trying to outposition as many people as they can to get into this vertical integration opportunity that they may have, and that, of course, is with their recent acquisitions that they've done that really only expands their stable in terms of effectiveness. Getting profitability, that's a tough one. Uber, of course, has abandoned the autonomous division. In fact, I think they sold it off. So that in that kind of scenario, it kind of leaves one horse in the race right now, with the exception of the major car companies that could come in and play on this. Lots of active moves happening in the restaurant industry. I want you guys to, hopefully you're going to stay tuned right here, because we're going to continue these market mover videos with you to kind of break down some of the analysis, bring some of our data and analysis in, and then put in our years of understanding of where the industry is moving and our insights into thousands of restaurant brands and hundreds of CEOs and people that we talk to on an ongoing basis to really get the feet on the street and the kind of the take of where the industry stands. So make sure and tune in as much as you can. If you're over on Spotify or iTunes, make sure and leave us a rating. And of course, if you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure and subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notified of more content just like this. And of course, if you have an idea for a show, just shoot us an email to producer@foodabletv.com. That's the best way to reach us. And hit me up on Twitter. If you like what you see here, I'd love to hear your feedback on where you think this might go in terms of Tesla's way for robo-delivery. We'll catch you next time right here on The Barron Report.